Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be a little bit different than what I usually would do. I get asked this question a lot, and it's how are you a vegetarian? How long have you been a vegetarian? All of that kind of stuff. So I decided why not just make a video giving people kind of tips and tricks on how to kind of get into the vegetarian lifestyle and, why am I a vegetarian and why I think other people should maybe want to be vegetarian. Okay, so I've been a vegetarian for about 8 or 9 years now, ever since I was in middle school. So I've kind of really become accustomed to the lifestyle and really comfortable with where I am in my beliefs and standpoint on being a vegetarian. Alright, so the reason that I became a vegetarian is kind of mixed, honestly. I never watched any of the, PETA videos about the animals and everything because it made me too scared. But I kind of just was like, is meat good for me really? Or do I need it? Or can I supplement other things instead of eating another animal? And the fact of the matter is that you don't actually need meat to survive. There are a lot of things that you can eat or ingest in place of meat, and I've slowly learned about all of those through my journey. Some of them are pretty obvious, but others, a lot of people are usually like, what? You can eat that instead of meat? So it is kind of fun to be a vegetarian and be able to let people know why you are, or let people know the different things that you do differently than you would normally. You can eat nuts, soy, beans, cereal, and a lot of dairy products are really good for consuming all the needed protein, but I am really careful about how much dairy I do take in because cheese and milk especially are super bad for your skin. They make you break out pretty bad. Now, I am not a vegan, nor am I really a vegetarian. The correct term for what type of vegetarian I am is I am a pescatarian, which means that I will occasionally eat seafood. Now, occasionally meaning very rarely. Seeing as how I do live in the south, when it's crawfish season, I'll probably eat some crawfish, but other than that, it is really rare for me to eat seafood because it is still an animal. Alright, so I am not trying to convert anyone to being a vegetarian. I'm simply just going to lay out all of the pros, cons, and at this point just kind of letting you know how you could potentially become a vegetarian if you were interested. Okay, so the meat industry is actually really harmful for the environment. They waste a ton of food, they use a ton of fuel, and also the places where this meat is being processed and things like that at the slaughterhouses is absolutely disgusting. There are roaches climbing on the walls, rats, and all kinds of things like that. So it's just kind of not a good situation for the meat itself or for the people that are going to be ingesting the meat as well. Another pro to being vegetarian is odds are you are going to be a lot slimmer than someone who is a meat eater. Now, this is not for every case because you can be a vegetarian and live off of ice cream and french fries your whole life. But for the other spectrum of vegetarians, we're eating fruit, vegetables, we're eating things that actually have substance and that will actually help our bodies. So yeah, being slimmer is definitely something that you could potentially get out of being a vegetarian. Through being a vegetarian, you could also lower your risk of food poisoning. This is because most cases of food poisoning, like more than half of them, are caused by red meat, whether it be a hamburger or something like that. So it lowers your risk of getting sick. Also, by cutting out meat, you'll be cutting out tons of saturated fats, which aren't good for you at all. So instead of eating all the saturated fats, you'll probably be putting more things in your body that may be lower in fat, but also are like full of good fats, like avocados and things like that. Also, there's the whole principle thing behind not eating meat. You're reducing the suffering for the animals. And although, a lot of people are like, oh, it's just an animal, blah, blah, blah. There is a humane way to go about this kind of thing, and then there's the not humane way to go about these kinds of things. like how they pump the chickens with all these pesticides and they keep them in confined cages where their heads are popping on their wings and their legs are just breaking off and they can't even walk, let alone the cows and all of that are confined into these small areas of uncomfort, and then they're just sent to be killed. They are animals, you know, they're alive, they are feeling everything that's going on, and although they are not humans and cannot speak, it does not mean that they are not feeling these things. So those are some reasons about why I'm a vegetarian, or why some people have switched to become meatless eaters. So the number one step that you want to have before starting to become a vegetarian is you want to have a really good reason as to why you want to become a vegetarian. The fact of the matter is that you do need good reasons in order to proceed with this journey, and it is a journey because I mean you will always have people around you eating meat or things like that when you go out, so you really have to have strong values, core morals, and just really be able to push yourself through this. And once you do so, it really becomes like second nature. It's not anything to think about, you just kind of do it and live it. The next thing that I would really suggest doing is look up some different recipes and basically look up what kind of foods vegetarians eat. That way you'll get an idea of, you know, what you're giving up and what you're gaining, because it's a big give up because you're so used to eating meat that then you gain so much more from the things that you'll be eating now. So you kind of have to weigh it out for yourself. If you don't want to give up all meats at one time, then I would definitely start with getting rid of red meat and then slowly weaning off all other meats so that it's not as hard of a transition for yourself. You can also make a list of the different things that you eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and then come up with some vegetarian alternatives to those that you're eating now, so that you can kind of see, okay, well, I'm going from this to this. Is it really a big jump? And I mean, honestly, it probably won't be. Like for me, I haven't been a vegetarian my entire life, obviously, but you know, for breakfast, let's say you eat ham, sausage, eggs, toast. They have vegetarian alternatives to the ham and the sausage, and in my opinion they're actually better tasting than the real meat ones. And maybe even start with smaller goals, like okay, let's say you'll be a vegetarian for a week. See how it goes for the week. Maybe come back onto red meats or different meats if you want. But then, okay, set another goal. Okay, I'll be a vegetarian for 3 weeks or 4 weeks, you know? And then it kind of just becomes habitual after that to where you don't even have to think about it. The next major thing I would say is to really let your friends and family know if you are truly thinking about becoming a vegetarian. You do want a strong support system behind you, and luckily for myself, my mother was also a vegetarian, so she was able to help me cook the different things that I had to cook and figure out different alternatives for me to eat as well, especially because I started so young. And you know, you want friends who are gonna go out to eat with you and not pick, you know, the sausage factory or the meat palace. You know, you want friends who are going to really meet you halfway and go to places that have something for everyone. Just you really want to make sure that you're doing this for yourself, and the health benefits and, you know, just the principal benefits is something really, really major that I think everyone should even look into or even attempt to do at some point in their life, even if it's for a short period or even if you just cut out red meat. It just makes a huge impact on your body. And you know, this day and age, a lot of people are vegetarians or they're vegans. It's just something that isn't really unheard of anymore. So a lot of restaurants and a lot of different places have offered vegetarian options, or even things, you know, that you could just get without the meat. So let's say that you love Taco Bell, but you don't want to cut it out. Well, in actuality, you really don't have to. You would just have to cut out the meat and sub it for beans. So you really just have to take time, look into everything, and I think once you've done so, you'll see a lot more pros than cons. I personally am just at a point in my life where going back to eating meat isn't even really something that I'm interested in. I honestly prefer the lifestyle that I live now, and I haven't really ever thought about going back to eating meat even when I first started. It just kind of, you know, kept me going and thinking about how horrible the animals are treated and things like that. So you just have to have that boost and you really have to want it. So yeah, I know that this video was a little bit more on the informative side than usual, but yeah, so I feel like anyone who wants to become a vegetarian obviously can do that and has the willpower to do it. You just really have to want it. So just open your eyes up to the possibilities and see if it's something that you'd want to do. And a lot of people ask me what I eat instead of eating meat, and mainly what I find myself eating is a ton of different veggie burgers, which they're delicious, and just fruits, vegetables, sandwiches with tofu. I find that I pretty much eat normally. It's just, I guess, because vegetarian sounds so different and you think, oh my gosh, it's a huge change, but in actuality it really isn't. So that's why I just keep saying, you know, like, go online, research, and you'll really find that it's not that hard of a switch. You just really have to want to do it. Of course, some days you'll probably be like, oh, I wish I could eat this, or oh, I wish I could eat that, but then, you know, you kind of think about it and you're like, I don't need it though, or I don't want it, because now there are so many alternatives that have been made out of soy and beans and different other things that are super, super good for you, as opposed to eating the not so good for you meat. But yeah, I hope that this video was informative, and I hope that any of you who are thinking about being a vegetarian, that this video has inspired you to go out, research, and see if this is something that you want to do, because it's a lot easier than you would think. So again, thanks for watching.